Hi, Steve. Happy lunar eclipse.
Was that is that now?
Yeah, there is a full moon eclipse in the sign of Taurus,
Wow.
which is really exciting. It affects us all in different ways, but it means like crazy revelations, bringing up dark stuff, closures, beginnings, tumultuous energy.
Okay, I'm good with the tumultuous energy part because that's what's been happening here for the last, I don't know, 2 3 days. And I even commented to my favorite astrologer on Instagram, Grace Astrology. I even commented that there was like some weird energy yesterday, and like I couldn't recognize it, so I just really didn't do too much. And it turns out there was a solar flare yesterday. On top of everything else, a solar flare hit the Earth and caused a blackout in New Guinea. New Guinea?
Yeah, I know. I thought you'd know all about that because you're really into solar flares.
It's not that I'm into solar flares. It's just that something was affecting me. I knew it was an energy I couldn't deal with. I'm glad I was in a structured environment, not out driving. I imagine it was a road rage day of some sort too.
Yeah, full moons are like there's more accidents on full moons, so you got to be careful with that kind of stuff too. But overall, I think it's pretty good for the sign of Pisces, so you're in the clear. Sam says crime rates go up on full moons, and that is very true.
Well, I'm in Southwest Florida, and I don't think there's any crime at all here.
Wait, speaking of Southwest Florida, that's where the word lunatic comes from, like lunar freaks, like lunatic, because the full moon, lunar.
Whoa, okay, that's got nothing to do with Florida, though, right?
Oh, mhm.
Is this just
I don't wanna be mean to Florida on this podcast because you guys have another hurricane coming your way.
what's going on with that? I just escaped Da Nang, Vietnam, because there was a typhoon coming, and now a storm that's even bigger than the one I fled has followed me here.
It's also election day, which is interesting that this kind of weird eclipse is coming on election day.
So that means that we're in a major turning point in several ways. It's probably a good time to buy the stock market.
Have you had anything weird happen to you? Like you mentioned this weird energy kind of coming in and you weren't sure, like, did you have kind of a weird experience, or why do you say that you had that weird energy coming in?
Well, first of all, I'm back in Florida, and that's after being in Thailand and Vietnam since July 28th. And as you know, since we have that in common, Callen, you went
Mhm.
to Vietnam, except for a different city, and I went to Da Nang, as you know, and I actually didn't want to leave Da Nang, but now that I'm back in Florida, I'm so much happier that I'm right now in Florida because I'm here for this moon, for this eclipse, for this energy, all this positive energy. To me, it's just the extension of the summer of love, which I embarked upon back in, I don't know, April or May. And it's just continuing for me. How about for you?
Well, I feel similarly. I think I'm not loving the cold, I'm in Utah now and it's just probably a lot colder than Florida. And I miss Thailand. I miss like sweating constantly all the time.
I don't think you
And
do.
I do. I miss it. I miss the heat and I miss the people and I miss like being in the US. It just feels so, I don't know. It's like people are driving around in Teslas and then there's like homeless people everywhere and it just feels so unequal and harsh and like really hard to be poor here. Like so hard to be poor in America, and also like the cold is just really taking a toll on me. My body was, jiving a lot more to the Thailandic sun.
Yes, understood. However, that's just not a healthy place. We're not going back to Thailand, okay? Now, if we want to go somewhere next, we're talking Mexico.
Well, what's Mexico like for climate change? Because I think Florida is going to just keep getting worse. And I think, I don't know where is warm and tropical that's also like immune to climate change. That seems like an impossibility.
You know, you're making me think too much on this podcast. I liked it a lot better when we were just joking around and I was telling stories. You know, now all of a sudden it's you talking about serious items. I mean, climate change, really? There's a Cat 99 hurricane heading for Florida right now. This one's bigger than the last one. It's just a question of how much water it's going to accumulate between the Bahamas and South Florida. Now, luckily, I'm on the southwest side, but these people don't know where these storms are going. And how long does it take for a storm to cross Florida, Alligator Alley? Let's see. I could do it in 2 hours in my car. How long do you think it'd take a hurricane to do it?
2 minutes.
I don't know, about 2 minutes. I think you're just guessing, and I want to give you another try.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So there's another hurricane coming, and to answer your question from far back, I'm happy to be here. This is where we started our podcast. This is actually where the idea for the podcast was first put in my brain, and which made me susceptible to you when you asked me to do it.
What are you talking about? In Florida?
Yeah,
How in Florida? I didn't know you in Florida.
I know. My Habibi suggested it before I embarked to Thailand.
Well, that has nothing to do with me. Nothing.
Let me ask you a question. Do you remember? Has anyone ever asked you, other than me, if you're Black Irish?
No, but me and my internal nuclear family talk about it all the time because that's what my dad always said is that we were Black Irish. But I tell other people this and they don't even really know what it means. I've actually had a conversation with a couple Irish people and they might have just been stupid, but they didn't know what it was. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, am I crazy? They thought I was
No.
like a crazy American.
Wait a second. Who are you telling this to? To Irish people, actually from Ireland?
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, Black Irish is a term used to talk about people from Ireland with dark hair. And if I'm not mistaken, often light eyes. Like I think when I think Black Irish, I think Jennifer Connelly, Sandy from the OC, like black hair, blue eyes. Stephen Colbert is probably Black Irish. I think of like who else? Can you name someone famous who else is Black Irish?
You talking to me?
Who else would I be talking to?
Well, like Demi Moore would be the first, and I don't know if she is, but you know she's got that black hair.
Right,
Uh,
right, right.
Basically, it's the black hair. You know, it's the black hair. I'm not sure the eye color matters, but generally it's dark, but it doesn't have to be. Um, and the eye color is really not important. It's the black hair. As soon as you see the black hair, usually you see dark eyes. If you see blue eyes, that's kind of rare.
You know, everyone in Utah has blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes. That's kind of the Mormon look. But Samuel and I are kind of theorizing that we think that maybe the Mormons, like, are really just a cover up for aliens. We're not saying necessarily reptile people, but we think that, like, the tunnels underneath the city are a bit shady. And some of their obsession with, like, ancestry is a little bit on the nose of, like, what aliens would do, you know? I mapped to the public library in Salt Lake City, and it took me to the Mormon genealogy library, and I look and I walk in, and they're all staring at me, and something about it felt very
With your black hair, with your
well,
black
something about
hair.
it felt extremely Black Mirror and reptilian, and I was like, "There's no way these are people." And you walk around cities like Salt Lake or, like, in the West, I felt this way, especially in Denver, and you just feel that these people are, like, not really real, like, it's a little simulated. I felt that way in Denver Airport, and I felt that way around Salt Lake City. I just feel like if you told me a certain percentage were aliens, I wouldn't question it.
Oh my God, you went through the Denver airport. Is that your
And
first
I
time?
didn't know any of the conspiracy theories. I didn't know anything, but I remember going through it. My flight got canceled and I felt like the energy is off. Like I remember going through it. This was like about a year ago. there were people just, like, walking, and then they'd abruptly turn the other way, kind of like Sims, and it was so weird and robotic, and I felt like I don't know, I felt like there was a very, very strange vibe there, and Denver in general.
Maybe they were looking at you like that funny because they consider you to be unclean.
Who was looking at me funny?
The Mormons.
Oh, that's true.
Like, who are you, this black Irish girl, to come defile their land? I don't know. My son told me that they're very gay
Oh
down
my
there.
gosh, that's what we've been saying. It's really like I think
But I thought that about Thailand also, and Vietnam kind of. I don't know.
that's what Sam
That
and
vibe
I
was
said. We
horrible.
said everyone is just, like, really flamboyant in Thailand. It feels, like, really gay in the best way. Yeah, it's super
Right?
gay. It's amazing.
Oh my
And
god.
everyone's, like, in it together in Thailand, you know? Everyone's, like, respectful of each other's stuff, and people are so nice, and here, it's like, there's so much inequality. It's just making me sad.
It's making you sad. You're not sad. You're like one of the happiest people I know. I just saw the pictures of you yesterday
I
climbing up a
am
mountain. That didn't
happy.
look like
I
a
am
sad
happy, but
person.
the inequality in this country makes me upset.
Did I tell you that some New York diva type personality and I actually almost had like a verbal altercation at Sarasota Airport only because I said something about her New York accent? And all of a sudden, I just remember, I just came back from Thailand and where everybody's smiling and everyone, there's all this love and all this gayness, right? Everything you just said. And then all of a sudden, I got this brashy New Yorker telling me that Florida doesn't need
Mm.
me. I'm like, wait, like, like, I've lived here 44 years. It's like, that she had nothing on me at all. And like, I realized I just got to let her go because that was as strange as it gets.
How did you get into an altercation with someone? Like, no one would ever say, like, "Callan, Florida doesn't need you," because I would never, like, do anything that would spark that kind of
Oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. It wasn't her. I said that. I said it to her. I don't know.
Wait, what?
Yeah, yeah, it was me. It was
You
me.
said to an old elderly woman, "Florida doesn't need you?"
She wasn't elderly. She was like stocky and mean looking. No, she wasn't elderly. Oh, what did I say to her? I said, "Oh, I think I told her not to vote like she did in New York, so she doesn't ruin my
Wait,
state."
wait,
Yeah, something like that.
how did you start this conversation?
She started it
Of course
somehow.
she
I don't
did.
know.
How?
Yeah, I don't really know. I heard her saying something. I just had to
What
butt
did
in.
she say, Steve?
I really don't remember, but it turned into a joke because I came out of the Sarasota the baggage claim, and there's these guys. I thought from New York. They're working the security for the traffic security, and I swear I saw them looking at the monitor, the arrivals monitor, and something changed, and all of a sudden they high fived. I came out, I was like, "What are you guys betting on the changing of the time on the arrivals?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can bet on anything on that board." I was like,
What?
"Yes, they're betting on what time a plane is going to arrive. Is it going to be earlier or later?" And it's like the under or over. I couldn't believe these guys. And of course, they're from New Jersey. So yeah, it was fun. I just let that old battle axe walk across the street, and I was talking to the guys, and if she would have got run
Whoa,
over,
whoa,
that would have
whoa,
been her
but
problem.
she wasn't doing anything wrong and you just had to butt in.
It's not that she was. No, it was her voice. It was her annoying New York
It was her
accent
tone.
voice. Yeah, it
It
was
was
like
her tone.
she just had that whiny sound. I can't. I don't want to imitate it, but remember that Fran Drescher sound?
Like a
I forget what
vocal
her tone.
fry.
What'd you call that?
A vocal fry.
What is that?
It's just like how everyone talks these days because of the culture.
I never heard those words. Did you just learn that at the University of Michigan, or where did
No.
you go? Where did you go? Michigan State?
No, I went to university in the United Kingdom.
What?
Yes.
You got a degree over there?
Yeah. A first
Where did
class
you?
degree, might I add.
One moment. first class degree? What the hell is that?
It means that I basically had like a perfect GPA, but I got it in like film and television, so I don't think that counts.
Yes, it does. What are you talking about? Hold on. Don't buy back the praise. You earned it. Wait a
Well,
second.
I'm praising
A,
myself. It's a little embarrassing.
almost perfect GPA?
Steve, did you go to school? Did you study? Did you go to university?
No.
Did you think about going?
No.
Why?
Well, I couldn't get in. I mean, I don't think any university was going to take me. I wasn't even a good junior college student, so no, I was not going to be taken.
What was your first job then, like out of high school?
My first job, I was 12 years old. I worked in a car wash.
Sorry, I forgot labor laws weren't in place in
What the
when
heck? What?
you were a child.
I might have been 11.
Is that most of the kids you knew, were they doing that, or was that you uniquely?
Well, I mean, it was like this. The guy next door, we lived in a courtyard. There was a lot of families, and the guy next door owned or was the manager of a car wash. I think he owned it, of a car wash. And yeah, I was making money. I mean, and a lot of it was like $20 to a 12-year-old.
Right.
In 1972.
Right.
That's
That's a lot.
Before Nixon took us off the gold standard for his bosses, the Rothschilds.
What was what was your job after the car wash?
Okay, so I don't know that I worked after that until I was 14.
Because you had enough money saved, you were good until
No,
then.
because yeah, I guess they either sold the car wash. I guess they sold it, and that was that. I had a penny saver out.
You had a what?
It was like a newspaper out, but it was called Penny Saver.
A newspaper what?
A route.
Oh, I kept thinking you were saying app.
Route.
That
Route.
coupons?
Yeah, something like that.
Um, well, we wanted to make it mystical. We end up talking a lot about politics, but I want to know if you have had any mystical experience in your time, all the way back to your
Okay,
childhood.
but why don't maybe you should ask me where the name Mystic came from.
So, no Bigfoot or ghost stories
Okay,
before
I
you go
I
on?
did see a ghost in a hotel I was staying with in Thailand. It was like some slithering thing that looked,
It's always Thailand, isn't
yeah, it
it?
looked like Pluto from Popeye, like just like on his hands and knees crawling away from the bed. And I saw it leave my bedroom, and I was like, "What?" And I thought it went into the bedroom with this. My old girlfriend was sleeping, and I went. She wasn't there, and then I went down to the lobby of the hotel. There was a girl and a guy there, and I said to them, "I just saw a ghost upstairs," and they just looked at me and they go, "Yeah, we know." I'm like,
What?
you know?" I was like, "What?" I was like, they're like, "Yeah, it's okay." I'm like, "Wow."
Are you kidding?
I
What?
am not kidding. This was at the Amanta or Amaranta condo.
And they whispered it in English? We know.
She
That's
just
how they
looked
did
at me
it?
straight in the face, and she's like, "Yeah, they knew. Like, don't make a big deal about it." Do you think that's funny?
Well, I
I
yeah,
was
I mean,
legit like confronted by it, and I went downstairs
where was the hotel?
in Bangkok.
And they just spoke perfect English and they said, "We
Yes,
know." You sure they weren't
yes.
trying to, like, freak you out?
No, they weren't freaked out by what I said. Think about it. You know that? Didn't you ever see the spirit houses that they have outside buildings?
Oh, yeah, the Sam from Fa. Sam
What?
from Fa.
What the
Samuel
hell?
and I love those. They're like doll houses and they put,
Do
offerings and
Do you
little
know why
people
they're there?
to keep evil spirits away.
Oh, really? Is that what you thought?
Uh-huh.
You
Mhm.
know what they're really there for? They're there before they build new. They have to build a spirit house, so before they demolish a building, that the spirits have a place to go. before they demolish the building. That's what they did. They're
That's
all over.
sweet. That's
Yeah, but
sweet.
that's all over. But even in the alley on Kosan Road where I was getting my coffee, they have one there. And when people walk by, they all like bow towards it.
Was there a Sam from Fa at this hotel you stayed at?
Yes.
But this little Slytherin Bluto got in.
This was, oh, you know, I think he came in with the girl. I think it was inside the girl.
One night stand?
No, 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 no. We we wound up being together for 4 months, but this is when we were
Mm.
just getting together, and I think that maybe she was feeling the love, and that because she was feeling the love, the demon had to leave her.
Wouldn't love be the best shield against a demon?
Well, yeah, so it slithered out of her body, was hiding under the bed, and then when I moved, it moved and it left. I mean, I can't really explain this other than something was
Only Steve
crawling.
O'Mystic would say when he sees a demon, it's because the woman he was with was so in love with him that the demon had to flee. That's why you saw it, right? Because she was just falling over, tripping over herself in love.
My gosh.
You caressed the demon out of
I
her.
didn't
Isn't
touch it
that
though. I mean, it was like hiding at the foot of the bed. I only saw it at the foot of the bed, like almost like it was trying to get into the bed with us. You know what I mean?
mm.
It's like
Did
almost
you
like it was,
hallucinate it, do you think?
well, I mean, not according to the people in the lobby. Like I described it. I mean, that's not the first time I've seen apparitions and other things. I'm sure you've seen plenty if you're willing to talk about it.
I'm willing to talk about it. Go on. Tell me more.
Well, I once saw like a whole group of what I felt were like angels come like through the wall, like you
Mm,
come through the wall and become
mhm,
almost human form like, but then they left through the other wall. So
mhm.
apparently they were not. But I almost felt like it was like a team coming to help me.
That's so funny because most people, when they talk about, most mediums use the phrase your team of light, and it's based on your angels, your ancestors, and like your guidance counselors. And you have kind of different people who are assigned to you and go through the journey with you. There's one woman who claims that everyone has a guardian angel and they can manifest as either male or female, and they stand behind you at all times.
These came through the wall, and then they went to do a specific job, and they didn't come back to report on the job. So I'm not really sure what they were coming
How do
for.
you know? How do you know they were doing a job?
I almost feel like I called on them.
Your team of light. That's your team of light.
Well, I didn't know it was my team of light, but I'm glad they were around.
Good. I really think that's special. Seeing angels is always a good thing. I don't know about the demon. I've never seen a demon, but I try to avoid that.
He was
Mine
slithering away. He was in defeat, at defeat. I think I saw a friend of mine appear at my bedside once in San Francisco. That's a pretty magical place, San Francisco.
in alive or a dead friend.
No, alive. She was in Los Angeles trying to get a hold of me, and me with my cell phones. And then I saw her, and I was like, wow, it was like she was really. So I called her immediately. I said, I just saw you at the foot of my bed in San Francisco. She goes, yeah, I was there. I was like, what?
What?
That's what she said. She goes, yeah, I was just there. I've been trying to get a hold of you.
She astral projected into your room?
Well, I mean, I saw her.
Wow. Have you ever dreamt something and had it come true?
Of course.
Like, give me an example.
I can't. Let me just answer affirmatively, and we'll come up with some answers some other time.
Hmm.
Like that's way too on the spot.
Okay. So, where did the name Steve O'Mystic come from?
It's about time.
Why Steve O'Mystic?
Okay. It has something to do with the Freemasons.
Are you serious? Are you kidding?
That's a phrase you'll stop asking me over time.
That is not what I thought you were gonna say.
Well, it also involves the Rosicrucians.
Somewhat?
The Rosicrucians, which is
Okay,
a
you're gonna have to explain all this.
well, not at the moment. Let me just keep going. And it also and it also has to do with the Mystic Theater. But the Mystic Theater, everybody knows about it. Oh, Petaluma. It's the Mystic Theater in Petaluma. So I
Hmm.
saw the Mystic. I was at the Mystic Theater, and I stayed at the Mystic Hotel in San Francisco. And so I went into the Mystic Hotel, and that was very magical moments. And then I walked into a bookstore called the Russian Hill Bookstore, and I walked through the door. First of all, I was freezing. I only had like a light jacket, so I was really looking to duck in to get some warmth. I ducked into the bookstore. And just before I ducked into the bookstore, I read something on the front door. So I started laughing as soon as I opened the door. And the girl behind the counter said to me, what's so funny? And I was like, to sign on your door, it says, dogs of all sizes are not welcome. And I was laughing because it's the only place in San Francisco where I've seen where people can't take their dogs. And it's so abused. It's like you'll see people's dog in the grocery cart at the Trader Joe's. It's like, it's ridiculous. And then she said, "So, are you interested in any books?" I was like, "Okay, so they'll bring me to the music section." And she brought me to the music section. By the way, in San Francisco, it's a big mistake because it's the biggest room. Let's try something else. She goes, "What?" I was like, "What do you got on mysticism?"
Hmm.
So she says, "Okay, go over to this section." And she leads me to this wall that's a story and a half high. And I'm just looking at this wall of books. And I didn't know. I just decided to pick one. And I picked one, and it was 2013. So it was 1913, because it's 100 years old, and it was from Mount Sinai, New York. There was a stamp in the back, Mount Sinai. So now I just left the Freemasons main temple at 1111 California Street. By the way, 1111,
Mhm,
1111
I got it.
California Street, up at the top of Nob Hill. Now I'm down at the Russian Hill Bookstore, and I look at the name of the book, and the name of the book is The Mystic Way. I'm like, get out of here. There's all this mystic here, mystic there, and of course I met Gretchen at the Mystic Theater. That tended to be a very important contact for me because
Wow.
my guitar playing ability was motivated to improve quite greatly upon meeting her. So that was all very important. So all of a sudden, I went from Steve Orenda to Steve O'Mystic, just like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It really is beautiful, and everything about that Mystic Theater and the Mystic Hotel and the Mystic Way, and then I wound up buying a entire library full of books. It was like $1,400 because the girl that was laughing when I walked through the door, when I said, "Okay, I'll buy this book," she just looked at me and she goes like, "Why'd you pick that book?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "I'm not sure." She goes, "Do you know whose book that was?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "That book belonged to Orville Graves." I was like, "Orville Graves? Who's that?" She goes, "He just died." She says he was one of the big guys at the Rosicrucian Church.
Whoa.
I'm like, "The Rosicrucian Church?" She goes, he was the head librarian. I was like, "How many more of his books do you have here?" She says, "We got a bunch. We have his whole library." I said, "Okay, I bought all of them." I said, "How many do you have?" She goes, "I don't know. There's like 40 of them." I'm like, 40? So I was like, "Okay, I'll buy them all." And they shipped them. They wrapped them up individually and they shipped them to me in Florida. I have his entire
And
library.
the Rosicrucians were a spiritual and cultural movement that arose in Europe in the 17th century. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're a reincarnated member.
unlikely, but I have his entire library, and I was really excited about that because the very very first book I read, The Mystic Way, started me on the path.
Really?
Yeah, I went into the Freemasons temple, and they have a whole gallery open to the public, like a whole mezzanine. It's very very substantial, and I saw all these old aprons, hundreds of years old, and what I wasn't prepared to see were stars of David all over them and menorahs also pictured all over these. And I'm like, wait a second, what are these Jewish symbols doing on the Freemasons' clothes?
And what did you figure out?
And then I began the path. I mean, there's so much that people don't know about our origins, and they don't want to know. But I know, and I'm happy I know.
Why don't they wanna know? And if you're happy that you know, if you're happy that you know, why wouldn't other people wanna know?
Yeah, I find that not everybody wants to live the spiritual life. You know, some people believe that that this
Well,
is just.
everyone is living the spiritual life. It's just some people don't wanna be aware of that
Is that what it
side.
is?
Yeah, everyone's living the spiritual life. That's the only life.
Well, I'll tell you who's not living the spiritual life are the people that are drinking alcohol,
Well, it lowers your frequency, but
and it puts other spirits inside you. That's why they call it spirits.
do you drink?
Nope.
Never?
Of course I have.
Of course. But you stopped drinking when?
March 27th, 2012.
Wow. A year after your mystical.
Um. Oh.
Wait,
Oh.
Samuel just said, did you see what he said in the chat? He
that
said, "Steve, we got drunk with you."
that was beer.
Oh, beer. But
What?
you won't you'll drink beer but not spirits.
Right. Yes,
Loophole.
it's a loophole. It's a loophole. Listen, men drink beer, okay? And as you know, in Thailand, there's no alcohol in the beer. So it really didn't, that almost wasn't like violating it. But no, I won't drink hard alcohol, grain alcohol. And I really don't even drink beer in Florida, but no, no drugs either, Sam. March 27th, 2012, that's when it all ended.
Why? What's significant about that date?
That's the day I saw the light.
What happened on that day in 2012, March 27th?
I never told you this?
No, you never ever told me this.
Oh,
I was too busy getting drunk with you for you to tell me about
I didn't
your
tell.
sober awakening.
Who got drunk? Who got drunk? Who got drunk? You're saying I got drunk?
I'm not saying I think beer in Thailand is the same as beer here.
Oh,
I
it's
just think
not.
you
It's
I
not.
think it is. I think you just sweat it out more.
Oh no, it's definitely not. There's no alcohol in the beer in Thailand. They're lying about it. They lie about everything there. There's
Okay,
yes.
what happened in March 27th, 2012?
I saw the light.
What light?
The light.
You almost died.
I thought I did die.
Where, when, how?
I was in my apartment on Idaho Street in Santa Monica, California, and I had just gone to see Dr. Sergey. He was recommended by a close friend who said that I was a mess and I needed to see her shaman. So I agreed.
And the shaman took you on a what?
I went to see him. I don't remember what time it was. I think I had a 12 noon appointment. I rode my bicycle to the bus, and the bus took me to Venice. And I went to my appointment. I think it was like 12 o'clock. And I think I was there 2 hours. And I sat down in front of Dr. Sergey, and he asked me how I could help him and how he could help me. And I said, well, I need for you to help me to get off drugs. And he's like, well, what drugs? And I was like, well, there are a lot of drugs. And he asked to write a list of all the drugs that I'd taken in the last 72 hours. And after 10 or 11, he put the pen down and he just looked at me and goes, my friend, you are a chemical mess. He goes, what
Mm.
makes you think I can help you? So I realized what he was doing was throwing in the towel on the first visit, and so I looked at him. I said, "I tell you what, you if you can help me stop drinking alcohol, I said I'll probably stop using drugs." I said, "I think that's the gateway, and you help me with that, and I'll take care of the rest." I stopped him. I said, "But that doesn't include marijuana." I said, if I wake up tomorrow morning and I don't want to smoke marijuana, I'm coming back here to kick your ass." Right. So we did about an hour's worth of self suggestion, and I wasn't in a trance, but I was in a state of consciousness where I've done it before. Where you go with it's like a self hypnosis. It's more of like a hypnotic induction. Okay, have you ever heard these terms?
Yeah, I mean, not hypnotic induction,
Yeah,
but I'm familiar with
so
hypnosis.
yeah, hypnotic induction. You're participating in the lowering of your resistance, I suppose. Now that I look at it, and
Okay, so you're gearing up for hypnosis.
yeah, although I wasn't, it wasn't hypnosis though because I was participating in it the whole way. It was a positive self suggestion session. Anyway, when it was over, we identified who my alcohol problem came from. We identified who my cocaine problem came from, and we went through this this process which I learned later comes from ancient wisdom, but I didn't know that at the time. So whatever, I left. I rode my bicycle back, probably the whole way, and at about 3 o'clock or so, I got to my apartment and I went upstairs and I had these two bottles of very expensive French wine. And I said to myself, there's no way that I'm going to stop drinking alcohol and not first drink those two bottles of wine.
What are you I feel like everyone quits drinking when they have really nice alcohol in the house and they're like, "Oh, well, after
I
this."
was like, there's no way. I mean, I just said that. I mean, I wasn't speaking out loud to myself, but I knew that there was no way. And I opened it. Obviously, I just went and paid this guy and went through the 2 hours of the suggestion and all the rest. And there they were, those two bottles of wine. They look
But
like.
I think it's a lot like meditation. It's like meditation, the idea, initially when you're getting into it is not to not think, right? It's if your thoughts come, that's okay. If the alcohol comes, that's okay. But over time, you get to a point where you learn how to meditate in a way where you're not thinking, or you learn how to be sober in a way where you're not drinking. I see a lot of similarities in that.
All I could tell you is I poured the glass and I took a sip. And as soon as I did that, I felt dizzy. And I put the glass down and I laid down in bed and I slept until 5 o'clock. I know it was 5 o'clock because somebody called me at 5 and asked me what I was doing, where I'd been all day. So
Mhm.
I said, well, I went to see a guru, and he said, did it work? I said, I'll let you know. I'm on my way to the happy hour right now. That's where I was going. I was getting dressed. I put on my nice clothes because it's at the Fairmont Hotel again, but this one in Santa Monica. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of celebrities, a lot of other people there, actors, actresses, beautiful people, writers. Very nice. And I used to meet a lot of people there. I enjoyed it. And I was getting dressed, and I told my friend I'd let him know at the end of the happy hour if it worked. And I got dressed up, and I think I'm going to the happy hour. And I went to touch the doorknob to open up the door, and I heard an explosion, and I saw this. brilliant light, and I was sure I was electrocuted, like maybe a tree fell on an electrical wire outside the building and it
Oh
touched
my
metal.
gosh.
And when I looked at my hand and my arm, they weren't burned. So I didn't know what happened. I was just looking at my arm, and then I was in a trance-like state. I took off my dress clothes. I put on like shorts and a t-shirt, grabbed my bicycle, and I went for a 2-hour bicycle ride. And I was amazed. The happy hour was over at 6, and now it's 7, and it was just incredible. So I went to the bar, and I told the two bartenders that they can't serve me alcohol anymore. And I was serious, and they burst out laughing in my face. I was a girl
Oh
and a
my
guy. Oh, they
gosh.
just burst out laughing, like, because I was kind of notorious for my escapades there. Not that I'm proud of it now, but I was then. And they weren't going to take me seriously, so I called the general manager of the hotel and I asked him to come down to the bar. And he's like, "I'm really busy, Steve." He's like, but I told him it was very important, so he came. And he goes, what's going on?" He thought there was an emergency. I was like, "Listen, you got to do me a favor. You got to tell the bartenders that I'm not going to drink alcohol. They can't serve me anymore." And he like burst out, like his face exploded, like almost like a balloon popped. And then after about like 2 seconds, his face went pale, and he looked at me. He said, "You're not joking, are you?" I was like, "No." And then I went, as I was saying goodbye to the bartenders. I went to touch the doorknob of the restaurant to leave, and it happened again. And I saw this brilliant light that is beyond bright. In fact, when people tell me they've seen the light, I ask them to describe the color, and so far nobody ever has described it the way I saw it. So I don't believe them. And this time, I wasn't sure that there was actually a hotel lobby outside the door. So I didn't move right away. And I turned and I looked at the bartenders, and the same that we did, the exercise that we did, the ancient wisdom exercise I did with the shaman who says he's not a shaman, uh,
Mhm.
the two bartenders were engaged in the same um, waving goodbye. And I didn't touch alcohol again for 18 months. And the only time I drank again was when I was going to Thailand. 18 months later, 18 months later, I called up the doctor and I said, "Listen, I'm going to be getting on this airplane. I'll be flying first class the whole way to Thailand. It's going to be 28 hours." And I said, "They're going to be walking by with all the Vive Clicquot and all the, the champagne." And I was like, "I want to know if it's okay if I drank anything. Is it what'll happen?" And he just said on the other side of the phone, he said, "I didn't say you had a drinking problem. He said you said you had a drinking problem." I was like, "Okay." I said, "So what's your advice?" He says, "Well, if you want to drink, drink." He goes, "If you have a problem, call me."
Who's the guy if you the shaman, non-shaman, if people
Dr.
are listening?
Sergey. Oh, I went back to him, Dr. Sergey. He's in Venice, California. He's on my
He
Facebook.
sounds great. I've got
Oh, it was
another question.
amazing.
How were you, like, hanging out with celebrities at this hotel and, like, going to happy hours, and, like, how did you get like, what were you doing there? Did you just have cash to burn at that time in your life?
Yes, I did.
From the video game company?
No, no, I lost money in that venture. No, I made money on various different things in 2000. I made money in tech stocks. In 2005, I made money on a piece of land I bought, which I probably should have kept.
So you lived in California
I,
for a long
I
time?
did.
When? How old,
I lived
like,
in Beverly Hills when I was 40.
so after Florida?
Well, no, my family still lived in Boca, and I stayed in hotels mostly, and I came back, usually on red eyes when I could.
How long were you in California?
Well, I think it was almost on and off for about 2 years. I've got a connection to Utah.
How so?
My first wife lives there.
Really?
Yeah.
In Salt Lake?
Not far, probably in Salt Lake. I mean, her father still lives there too. He was a bishop in the Mormon church.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, but while you're figuring out your life, by the way, how old are you?
22.
I got it right. I told somebody you were 22 today. Oh, it was
I'm
Grace. It
22.
was Grace from Grace
Astrology
Astrology.
Grace. I know. I looked up her Instagram after you said that.
You've never seen her before?
No.
She's kind of cute. She's got this interesting attitude towards astrology. I just like watching her stuff. So many of the astrologers come and go, and then they just become so businesslike that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I mean, we don't want to be like that, do we?
No.
Yeah. So, I know I was talking to her before the podcast started.
Well, I don't even know how you're friends with her, but anyways.
What do you mean? I'm Steve O'Mystic.
True. All right, Steve. Love ya.